Hello again and welcome to another Morty and Glory bolt action video. In today's episode, we are going to be covering the potentially controversial new shooting phase rules for 3rd edition. There has been some chit, and dare I say chat, around the internet water cooler. And you know what? We're going to dive into it today. Let's get in there and have a good old wallow. So without further ado, let's fix bayonets and charge right into today's episode. You there! Have you bought yourself a copy of Sharp's Command yet? Yamirasan. Or use the affiliate link down below in the description to buy yourself a copy of the latest book in the best-selling series by Bernard Cornwell.
The fault was not mine, sir. Major Lennox must answer.
Major Lennox answer with his life! You disgraced us, sir! You shamed us, sir!
Sharp's Command is jam-packed full of action from start to finish. So what are you waiting for? Click on the affiliate link below and buy yourself a copy today. Support the channel and your king and country.
Yes, sir.
First up, let's look at the new shooting procedure that has been revealed by Warlord. Now, some of this is going to be eminently familiar and some of it is going to be brand spanking new. Step 1 on the shooting procedure is you declare your target. Step 2 is that target gets to react. For example, they can go down. And step 3, you then measure range and open fire. Now, this step 3 is really important because to me, it implies that there is still no pre-measuring in bolt action. This is one of the big things that separates this game from things like Warhammer 40k and the old world, where you can pre-measure before you decide if you want to shoot something. In bolt action, you declare your target, you eyeball it, you think you're in range, and then you measure to see if you are in range. If you're not, then those shots just go to waste. I think a lot of people were expecting pre-measuring to come in because it has been something that's quite popular in 40k, and with the recent release of the old world, which didn't used to have pre-measuring, and now it does. People like it there. So it's really interesting to see that Warlord Games has gone, no, we're still sticking with no pre-measuring. You've got to get good at eyeballing those ranges if you think it's going to be at the edge of your weapon's effective range. Some people are going to really like that. Some people might see it as a bit of a missed opportunity. But presuming that you are in range, you then move on to step 4, which is roll to hit. Then you move on to step 5, which is to roll to damage or roll to wound if you are a Warhammer player. And then we get to step number 6, which is by far the most controversial change. And I think the biggest change, and possibly, depending on how it works in game, one of the best changes. And that is step 6. The target takes cover saves. That's right. For the first time in its history, bolt action is going to have a save roll. This is something that the game has not had in 16 years of its life. In bolt action, you always roll to hit and then you roll to wound. And if you were successful in wounding, then your opponent's infantry died. And if it was a vehicle, then you got to roll on the vehicle damage table. But in order to stop the game from being hyper lethal, bolt action had loads of to hit modifiers. So you had modifiers for being at range, you had modifiers for enemies being behind hard cover, behind soft cover, did the enemy go down? And you could have results where you couldn't hit the enemy on a d6. Instead, you'd have what was called an impossible shot or an improbable shot, a very difficult shot, and you had to roll a 6 followed by a 6 in order to get that hit. And these modifiers really stacked up to the point where it was very, very rare to hit on anything better than a 4. Most of the time, people would be hitting each other on 5s and 6s, and maybe even 6s followed by 6s were pretty common, especially in the opening volleys at long range against each other. But now there is cover. And cover, which was one of the biggest things, one of the biggest modifiers, now gives your opponent a cover save, and it can be presumed that this is going to apply to both vehicles and it's going to apply to infantry as well. Now, I think that these cover saves have been added in because of vehicles. You see, vehicles in 2nd edition bolt action were quite easy to pop, and that's because they couldn't go down. There was no additional -2 for them to take advantage of. So as a result, you would find that vehicles would just get one-shot popped, because if you hit them and you penetrate their armor, then it just went straight through, your opponent couldn't do anything about it, and then you just roll on that vehicle damage table, and on a 4-up, that vehicle would go down. But now, presuming that vehicles won't be able to go down again, they might be able to go hull down, which is a little bit different, but presuming vehicles won't be able to go down, but they will be able to claim a cover save, what you might find is vehicles actually feel a lot more durable now. So that would be my suspicion on why cover saves have been brought in. It's going to probably balance out to be about the same when it comes to infantry durability, because we'll look at the cover saves in a moment, but it's going to make a big difference, I think, with making vehicles feel more survivable. And personally, if that is the way it works out, then that is a huge, huge win in my eyes. I know a lot of people are going to be upset about this. A lot of people don't like the idea of cover saves about action. They really like the fact that it doesn't have saves, that your fate is your own, that you roll the hit roll, you roll the wound roll, and then your opponent can't just get jammy and deny your good move by just getting lucky on their save rolls, which is one of the biggest source of frustration in other games. But I think this is going to be a big win. And the reason it's going to be a big win is because it's going to make tanks feel good. And if we look at how 3rd edition is starting to shape up, then we're seeing that you can take multiple tanks in games now. It's no longer just generic reinforced platoon, one tank. Now we're seeing multiple tanks. You can take rifle platoons supported by full-blown tank platoons, supported by full-blown mechanized / recon platoons. So I think Bolt Action 13 is shaping up to be an addition of tanks, with infantry still being very, very important. And the cover saves and the platoons are really feeding into that sort of feeling that I'm getting about the game. But we've talked a lot about cover saves. What the hell are they? Like, what are the different save values? Are there 6 ups? Are they 5 ups? Well, Warlord Games has shown us the new cover saves table. And for soft cover, so things like hedges and woods and wooden fences, then you will get a 5+ save. And in hard cover, which is like a bunker or a stone wall or a building, you will get a 4+ save. And if you are out in the open and you go down, then you get the benefit of soft cover, essentially. You get a 5+ save. Or if you're already in cover, then you'll get +2 to your save modifier. So that means if you're in soft cover, you have a 5-up, soft cover, and you go down, you'll have a 3-up. If you're behind hard cover, you have a 4+. But if you go down behind hard cover, you're going to be on a monstrous 2+ save. Woo! Oh, baby. That's a biggie. I'm not going to lie. The idea of Bolt Action going from having no saves whatsoever to potentially having 2+ saves is both scary and exciting at the same time. It's scary because it's so different and it's going to have a big impact on the game. But it's exciting because it is different. And we've been playing the same game pretty much for 16 years. I think Bolt Action 1st edition was for 4 years, and then 2nd edition for 12 years. It's 12 to 16 years one way or another, right? And when you play a game that long, when a big change like this comes along, it's going to be strange. It's going to feel weird. But I think that it's probably the kind of change that is needed to make the game feel distinct. Otherwise, we'll just be playing 2.5 edition. And whilst a lot of people might like that, I think for Bolt Action to grow and to evolve and to improve, we're going to have to accept these changes. And I, for one, am quite interested to find out how you can counter these cover saves. And I think it's going to be a big part of it. And Warlord Games has confirmed in the article that they will have weapons that completely ignore cover. So this is really starting to feel like 4th, 5th edition of 40k. And I have very, very fond memories of those games. But wait, there's more! Because not only have we got cover saves, but the to-hit modifiers are still in the game, but they have changed significantly. There are now a lot less of them. Now, some of these are still the same. So if you fire on the move, it's -1 to hit. I suspect that that probably means that the Americans are keeping their current army rule of fire and maneuver, which they don't suffer that -1 to hit modifier. Then we've also got fire as inexperience, which also adds -1 to hit. That's the same as before. And then we have point blank range, which adds +2 to hit, which I think is the same. Point blank may have used to add +1, but now it adds +2. But the concept is still basically there. If you're up close and personal, you're going to get a big bonus to your hit modifier. For me, the two really big changes, though, is firstly, if the firer is pinned, they have a -1 to hit modifier. Now, in 2nd edition, you were -1 to hit per pin marker. So if you had 2 pin markers on you, your unit would be -2 to hit when they were shooting. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It doesn't specify additional pins per pin marker. It just says, is the firer pinned? So I think that they've streamlined it, and now it's just a case of, do you have at least 1 pin marker on your unit? If yes, then you are -1 to hit. Doesn't matter how many you've got, as long as there's 1 there, it's -1. Again, I can't help but feel this is here to help solve some of the issues from 2nd edition, especially with vehicles like tanks with their big one-shot anti-tank guns. One of the big ways of countering expensive vehicles like Tiger tanks in 2nd edition was not to actually destroy them, but to pin them up. You would hit them with some high explosives, you put D3 pins on them, and then even if your opponent was able to pass their order check, that big gun, that one-shot weapon, was going to be at -2 to hit, and then, yeah, it was basically still combat ineffective anyway. So by getting rid of multiple pins causing multiple minuses to hit, I think it's going to help those one-shot weapons a lot, which was, again, another big problem in action, being that one-shot weapons rarely hit. But it's not necessarily about what's on the table, it's about what is missing. And the really big one is there now seems to be no modifier for firing at long range. That's right, you just get a bonus for point blank range, but whether you're firing your maximum range or you're firing at half range, it doesn't matter anymore. There is no modifier to hit when you are shooting at range. However, to compensate for a significant reduction in the modifiers to hit, Warlord Games has changed the base to hit roll from a 3+ now to a 4+, and that's going to make a really big difference. And I think a good way of demonstrating this is to go through a quick mental exercise. Let's take a Panzer III shooting an enemy tank in 2nd edition. Now, you have to move to get the shot in this scenario, and you're firing at long range with the medium anti-tank gun, and your opponent is in soft cover. In that scenario, you are going to be going from hitting on a 3 to hitting on a 6. With Bolt Action 3rd edition, with exactly the same scenario, you would only have the to hit modifier for moving, and your base to hit roll would be a 4. So rather than hitting on 6, you would be hitting on a 5. That means you go from having a 16% chance to hit to having a 33% chance to hit. But what's really big about this is if our opponent is now in heavy cover, we still hit on a 5. Whereas in 2nd edition, that would have been 6s followed by 6s. So immediately, it is going to feel better when using those one-shot weapons. It's going to feel more punchy. You're not going to have a feel-bad scenario where your badass-looking German tank or American tank or Russian tank, whatever tank it may be, your badass armored vehicle powers forward, drives around the corner, flings a shot into an enemy unit, and just misses. Now what you like to have is you power forward, you turn the turret, you line the shot up, you go fire, and you put the shot into the enemy vehicle. Then you still got to wound them, but you don't have that initial letdown of, well, I'm just not going to hit you. You've like, oh, I've got a 33% chance, and if I don't move, I might have a 50-50 chance just to hit you. Now, before everyone thinks, oh, that's going to be hyper lethal, but then your opponent, if they're behind soft cover, has a 33% chance of just blanking your shot. I'm in soft cover, I roll my dice, 5 up, boom. doesn't get through. But you get the hit, you get to wound, and then your opponent gets a chance to save their vehicle. And again, that makes for a positive game experience, because there's nothing more demoralizing in second edition than your vehicle just getting hit, wounded, and blown up, and you didn't feel like you had any agency in the situation. You didn't feel like you could do anything to try and save it. It was just completely out of your hands. You had to let go of the wheel and let God drive instead. But now it's like, okay, my opponent's hit, my opponent's wounded, and at least I get to interact with the process which is happening. And it's a 5-up, so it's not super likely to happen like 2/3 of the time. It doesn't happen every time, but that 1/3 of the time, you get a chance to save your vehicle. And by saving that vehicle, then you get a chance to strike back. So I do quite like the way this all stacks up. And Warlord Games has explained like that when they've done lots of playtesting, and they have, one thing they've emphasized really, really heavily in the article is how much they've playtested this. They have said that it just feels a lot more natural, and it just feels like what players are used to doing with war games. And I have to admit, I do like that aspect of this new save system. And I like how, even though it seems like more hits are taking place and that could be more lethal, the cover saves are coming in, and that is reducing that lethality significantly. So putting all of this together, what do I think it means for 3rd edition? Honestly, despite the fact that I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, I think this is good for the game. I think Warlord Games has managed to achieve a very, very difficult task of improving player experience without massively increasing the lethality. By having less to hit modifiers, it removes a lot of the negative game experiences from 2nd edition with single shot weapons. And by adding in cover save modifiers, it keeps the lethality in check and also adds agency to the defending player, who now feels like they actually have a hand in what's going on in the game. Overall, I don't see bolt action becoming more lethal. I think that the power of the game is going to feel the same, but we are going to have more players having better games. Well, at least that's what I think. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you a fan of the new cover saves and the new modifiers? Or did you wish that Warlord Games hadn't put cover saves into the game? Now, I fully encourage all discussion and passionate discussion down in that comment section. But remember, guys, keep it respectful when you are talking to each other. This is definitely a hot topic. Some people feel very strongly about this. And I'm happy for those people to express those opinions. And if you want to throw shade at me, that's absolutely fine. I've got a thick skin, but make sure you're being polite to each other in that comment section. If you enjoyed today's video, then don't forget to smash that like button and remember to subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously, guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.